Autoline Live from the Frankfurt Motor Show is brought to you by Audi, Truth in Engineering.
Welcome to the 2013 Frankfurt Motor Show. Have we got a program for you today? We're going to be introducing all kinds of new products and talking to the executives behind them, including, just to name a few names, Alain Uyttenhoven. He's the head of all product development for Toyota in Europe. Ian Robertson, a board member for BMW, talking about their electric car. Kumar Galhotra, the new vice president of engineering for Ford globally. And Scott Keogh, the president of Audi of America, and that's just to name a few. By the way, speaking of Audi, we're going to be giving away a model of the Audi Quattro R18 Le Mans winning race car, and you can win it by going to our website, Autoline.tv, and signing up for our newsletter, because we're going to be selecting a name at random from everybody subscribed to that newsletter to be able to win that model. So go check that out, and we're going to get going in just a moment here with our coverage of the 2013 Frankfurt Motor Show.
I know.
Autoline offers you one of the most effective ways to get your marketing message in front of the decision makers in the global automotive industry. Contact Stacy Eman today.
Alain Uyttenhoven is the vice president of product management at Toyota of Europe. Alain, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Looks like a hybrid is the message that Toyota of Europe is talking about at the Frankfurt show.
That's clear. Every car you will see on our stand is a hybrid car. Why? Because we believe that hybrid has reached a tipping point in Europe. Last year we used to sell approximately 13% of our cars with hybrid powertrain. This year it will be 25% if you take the larger definition of the EU. So this is why we celebrate 15, 17 years of hybrid, where others are making big announcements about the future.
Now, Europe is normally a diesel market. You see that very much starting to change in Europe now, or not?
We believe this might change in a big way. Why? Because depolluting diesel will become more and more difficult and more expensive, where the cost of hybrid technology is coming down, because we have reached worldwide, let's say 5.5 million cars now, and this helps us to bring hybrid in a more democratic price range.
And here you've got a very unusual hybrid right behind you, the Yaris R, which is really a high-performance hybrid. What's the message that you're sending with this car?
It's very simple. After 15 years where we have pushed hybrid probably in the corner of making green cars, we say hybrid can also mean emotion. What have we done? We've taken our best seller in Europe, which is a subcompact car by American standards, and we've put a kind of racing engine in the front. We've put 2 electric motors, and we use exactly the same technology as the Le Mans cars that you can see a little bit behind me on the stand, and this produces a supercar in very compact format.
So you seem to be saying that, sure, hybrid is all about being green and getting good fuel efficiency, but it can be about a lot of fun, high-performance fun.
Absolutely, and you will see it more and more in racing cars, I believe, in the coming years, and this prefigures how performance cars in the future could look like.
Toyota, of course, has its luxury brand, Lexus, which is still trying to grow in Europe. You have a new vehicle that you're debuting at the Frankfurt show. Tell us about that one as well.
Well, it's not exactly a debut, but it's a concept car at this stage. It's a concept car which is called LF for Lexus Future, and then N for Nimble, because we believe that with the downsizing trend in Europe, Lexus might need in the future a slightly more nimble car, following, I would say, the success of the RX, but just one size down. So this is what this car could say about the future.
Is this one a hybrid as well?
Yes, of course, it will be a hybrid.
How interesting that Toyota is only showing hybrids in its stand. I don't believe any automaker has ever done that before.
Well, we own 75% of the hybrid market in Europe, so if one car manufacturer can do it, I believe it's Toyota.
And Again, going back to the diesel versus hybrid, as you mentioned, it's going to be more expensive to add more emission controls to diesel, and yet half the market or thereabouts in Europe is diesel. How do you change the consumer's mind?
Well, I think consumer mind is driven by economy, but also by performance, by fun to drive. And people are discovering now that you can have a new driving style with hybrid, which is partly electrical, which is very silent, which is very relaxing. So the more we show hybrid to our consumers, the more they start to adopt it. If I take the Yaris in Europe, we are close to 40% of our sales with hybrid. It comes with a lot of features you can't find in other cars, of course.
The European market, of course, is going through quite a struggle right now. Are hybrid sales doing better overall compared to the market?
Well, one more time, it's difficult because we own the hybrid market with 75%, but our hybrids are growing much, much faster, and we do conquest a lot more customers than with our traditional, let's say, powertrain. So yes, the market for hybrid is growing very fast.
And what will you be looking for around the show as you check out what the competition has? Anything in specific?
Well, there are many, many interesting cars. There are cars about the future, but there are also cars that will come in the very near future, and I think you will discover them on the show by yourself.
Alain Uyttenhoven, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Pleasure. Thank
you. Ian Robertson is the board member at BMW in charge of sales and marketing, and it's great to see you here at the Frankfurt Show.
Always great to be here. It's a great show.
Behind us here, you've got this beautiful 4 Series coupe. Tell the audience a little bit about this car.
You know, this is out of the current generation, we move on now. And of course, the 4 Series got a new number because it is a very different product. It's the 3 Series sedan, quintessentially the sports saloon. But this, of course, is the sports coupe. And we decided that this time around, we would actually put a new number on it, so it became the 4 Series.
And of course, this car is just launching in the American market. Give us a little bit about the car and where it's priced.
You know, it'll be competitively priced. Clearly, we have a lot of new engines, and of course, we've got much better fuel economy, much better CO2 than the previous generation, and of course, all of the advantages of connected drive and everything else you'd expect out of a 3 Series or a 4 Series.
You've named this the 4 Series. As you mentioned, it's a very different car, but does that create confusion, adding yet another model name?
No, I don't think so. And I think if you look back over the last few years, that we've been creating new niches all the way through the last decade and a half. And they've all been very successful. So I think the 4 Series will start a new era. It's a new position for us. And I think something that the customers will warm to very, very quickly.
And of course, here at the Frankfurt Show, the biggest news, I would say, is your new electric and hybrid electric cars. The i3 pure electric, the i8, which is a sensational looking car. Can we go take a look at that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the i3 we showed, first of all, about 6 weeks ago now. So we launched it in New York, in London and in Beijing simultaneously. I think that went really well. The car is already now picking up an awful lot of test drives, and we're very, very confident that this will really make a difference in the electric car market.
The i3, of course, very much looks the city car that it is. The i8, on the other hand, boy, does this look like a BMW. Very dramatically styled.
You know, this is a car with effectively no conscience for anyone. You know, it's quintessentially a fantastic piece of design, carbon fiber technology, lightweight, a 3-cylinder high-performance engine, as well as, of course, an electric motor. Effectively electric on the front, combustion engine on the rear. It's a 4-wheel drive, and it's a brand shaper for the whole group.
Now, you mentioned high-performance engine. This is a hybrid electric, and yet you're talking about very high-performance levels of it. Spit out a few performance statistics here, Ian.
You know, it's well over 400 horsepower, and as I said, you know, you're effectively getting 4-wheel drive at that, and 0 to 60 in around 4.5 seconds. So, again, a very, very credible performance. And then when you look at the CO2 statistics, you know, they're much, much lower than you'd find in a very small compact car. In fact, about 50% you'd find in a compact car.
And can you give us any indication of where this car might be priced?
Well, you know, we haven't announced the pricing yet, but this car is in the super sports bracket. So I think you can feel where the numbers will be. It'll be over 6 figures.
You're, of course, creating a whole new brand, the iBrand, BMW i. You've got the i3, the i8. I would think that you might want a few more models for that brand. Can you tell us anything about future plans with this?
You know, we went into this very clearly to have a family of products. We decided that we wanted two bookends, and I think with the i3 and the i8 you have a bookend. You have an urban car here, and of course you have the i8 in terms of the sports car that we just talked about. In between, I think there is lots more potential. We're thinking about many other ideas, but it would be fair to say that at this moment in time we're concentrated on launching these two vehicles, developing the marketplace, and in time you'll see more.
Of course, crossovers are the hottest segment the world over. One would think that it might be natural to have a crossover come into the iBrand.
Well, you know, we carved out the crossover SAV segment with the X5 around about 12 years ago now. We've shown the third generation X5 today. It is also coming now with a hybrid drive, and so you will also see lots of technology that's coming out of these vehicles moving into the more mainstream products as we launch more and more products in the years to come.
The electric car hasn't quite caught on like many in the industry thought. What are your thoughts about this now that we're several years into electrics being on the market, and especially the outlook for these eyes?
You know, I think we're at somewhat of a tipping point. I think, you know, there are some cars on the market at the moment that maybe don't tick all the boxes. We thought we had to start with a fresh, clean piece of paper. We have carbon fiber structure here to offset the weight of a heavy battery pack to give you the sporty dynamic and, of course, great design. But if you looked at the data, in 2010 there were about 7,000 electric cars sold. This year, maybe 150, 170,000. This is a multiplier of significant magnitude now. I think we will see now, as the market matures somewhat in the next few years, another big step upwards. And we're intent on playing a very significant part in that.
Very good. Ian Robertson, thanks so much for your time at the Frankfurt Show.
Always a pleasure.
Kumar Galhotra is the Vice President of Global Engineering for the Ford Motor Company. It's great to have you here at the Frankfurt Auto Show, Kumar.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me, John.
Ford's got a lot going on at this show, one of which is this new trim line that you're introducing, Vignale. Explain a little bit behind the name and what Vignale is all about.
Well, the name itself comes from Alfredo Vignale. He was a craftsman who used to work in the Ghia studio, and we still own the name, and it's a great concept. And we're going to launch this really upscale product. We've noticed lately in our European market, a lot of customers are buying very high mix of titanium and other very rich mix of features. So we thought there's room for an experience, not just a product, an experience that is much more upscale, has much finer materials, unique colors, great craftsmanship, great seating. And that's the Vignale experience. And we're going to have that both in the product as well as in the dealership. So very key dealerships who will provide key things for the customer, key experiences for the customer that's much more upscale.
Very interesting that you're introducing a more expensive trim line, and this will go across the whole model line at some point, will it not?
So the Mondeo is the first one that we will start with, and there are more vehicles to come that will offer the same experience and the same product features.
This speaks very well of how Ford is doing in Europe right now. We all know that the European market is struggling. Ford seems to be doing the best of the mass market brands, and the fact that you can introduce a more expensive trim line really suggests that people are flocking to the Ford brand and willing to pay more money for a Ford branded product.
You're absolutely right, John. We're doing fantastic. Overall, the European plan is working. It's working on all three elements of it. The product, of course, as you mentioned, we're selling a very good mix, and we feel there's room for even richer products. The cost plan is working. We've announced the shutdown of 2 facilities in UK, and as you know, Genk will be shut down by the end of 2014. All of this offers great cost savings. It's about $450 to $500 million per year. It brings our capacity in line with where we think the demand is going to be, reduces our capacity by about 18%. So overall, the plan's working and the products look great, doing very well in the marketplace.
And you're introducing so many products into the European market, one of which will be unveiled later today at the Frankfurt Show, the S-Max crossover. Tell us a little bit about that concept.
So the S-Max, we pretty much invented that segment here in Europe. It's a great package for families, but very stylish. So it is a better package than a CD wagon, but more stylish than a minivan, for example. Very dynamic, great architecture, great interior, And the S-Max you'll see today that we'll unveil today is it's a concept, and it's a pretty strong hint to what we're going to do with the vehicle in coming years.
It is a concept, but boy, does it look like it's almost production ready. And do you have any real competition in that segment where it will be competing?
Well, we are the leaders in that segment. And ever since we introduced the product, we have been the leaders in that segment. And the newest vehicle that we will introduce is going to continue to maintain that leadership, we'd hope.
And then at the opposite end of the scale, you've got the B-Max, small B-size segment car that's got 2 sliding doors to it, though. And I got a chance to drive one yesterday with the 3-cylinder, 1-liter engine in it. I was really impressed, but tell the audience a little bit more about this vehicle.
So this vehicle we just introduced in Europe. It's doing fantastic. Like you said, it's a B-size vehicle, very versatile. It's got 2 sliding doors. And it's got this great powertrain, the 1-liter engine. And it's an engine. It's won the Engine of the Year. Great technology. And we're going to be introducing it in the Fiesta as well for our North American market.
So that's very different than what we've seen in the U.S. market, a 1-liter, 3-cylinder engine, albeit going in the Fiesta, and I've driven that, and it's a pretty good car, but what's your gut feel about how the American public will react to such a small engine?
Well, the customer in the United States, and actually around the world, are now very, very savvy. They're not so focused on the displacement itself, but they're very savvy, and they're very much focused on performance and fuel economy. And this engine delivers both best-in-class fuel economy as well as power, so it's a fantastic engine.
Real good. Kumar Galhotra, thanks so much for talking with us at the Frankfurt Auto Show.
Thanks for having me, John.
I know.
Opinion, gossip, and true believers. Plus, cars, and more cars. Join us live each Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern for Autoline After Hours on Autoline.tv. That's Autoline After Hours, where performance meets opinion.
Scott Keogh is the president of Audi of America, and boy, do you guys have a lot to show at the Frankfurt show this year.
I agree, but that's what you want. A new product makes the world go round, and we love to make the world go round, so we got a lot of great stuff.
Behind you right here, you've got this wild concept car for the Audi Quattro, and you've got another one alongside it too. I've got to imagine this is just to sort of stir the imagination.
You know, we like to stir the imagination, but we also like to do things that are real. So I think what you're seeing here, of course, is the Sport Quattro concept. It's the 30th anniversary, if you know, of the mythical Ur Quattro, and we really wanted to bring that back and bring it into the 21st century. What you see here is a stunning machine, 700 horsepower, hybrid vehicle. We're excited.
Now, of course, this is a concept. We don't know if that's going to be built. Let's go look at one of the cars that is going to be on sale, especially in the U.S., the A3. So, Scott, you guys have been really pushing diesel a lot lately in the U.S. market. How's that all going for you right now?
You're exactly right. We just had a record month on diesel in August. We just did nearly 1,200 cars. And another thing we did was just had a couple of journalists drive across the country. And what we are seeing with diesel is they perform. And if you look at the miles that they're getting, they're 15% over what the EPA is projecting. And we think diesel technology is something that's ready to go. It's ready now, and it's effective. So we're excited, and it's working well for us.
And of course, you're putting more diesel models out there, so that's got to help sales as well.
We are. You're exactly right. As you know, previously we only had the Q7, and now we've added the Q5, A6, A7, and A8, and that's why we're seeing the volume and the mixes go up. But America's coming around to diesel, and particularly Audi diesel, so it means a lot to us.
And of course, now we've stopped in front of one of the models that you are bringing into the U.S. market, the A3 Cabrio, or convertible. Exactly right. Tell us about this car.
Well, I think first off, we'll be bringing this car in the second half of 2014, so this car is coming soon. I think the big story here, it's a big push we're making into the A segment. We see this segment growing from around 50,000 units today up to 200,000 units. We'll be bringing a sedan, which of course you know, a cabriolet. We'll be bringing a Sportback plug-in, and of course an SUV. So we will come out with 4 all-new products into this segment. The Cabrio, I think this thing speaks for itself. Stunning design, compact, and I think it's going to do great business.
Okay, I know you said 2014, middle of there. Any word on pricing? Can you give us a hint?
You know, journalists, it's never enough. It's never enough. No, we're not going to announce pricing, but certainly I think in this segment, somewhere in the low 30s is where we're going to need to be, and we'll get the right price point. But here, you know, we're selling beauty, we're selling dreams. Let's not get tangled up in price.
Okay, for the time being, I'll let you off the hook.
Exactly.
But go back to that, a full lineup in this segment. What's your thinking of how that's going to grow in the American market?
Look, our thinking is we spent a lot of time making the Audi brand extremely strong, making it the power it is today. Once you have a strong brand, there's a lot of people who want in on that strong brand, and we want to make sure we got a range of products to give people entry, if you will, into the Audi brand. We think people are looking for compact cars. We think people are looking for cars with a lot of drivability and high technology, and it's exactly what Audi's going to deliver. So we're excited.
You said yourself you just came off a fantastic month in August in the U.S. market. Can you keep that momentum going? What's your outlook for the year?
Well, I wouldn't be here if I can't keep the momentum going, so the plan is to keep it going. And I think, look, another great stat, it took us 40 years to break through the 100,000 unit barrier. We did it for the first time 3 years ago. Through August, we broke through 100,000. So we still got 4 months to go. So I think we're well on our way to 150,000 units, another record for Audi, and it's exciting times.
What's happening in the luxury segment? Because there's so much competition in there. Cadillac's making a bit of resurgence. Lincoln's trying to do that. Of course, Mercedes, Lexus, and BMW haven't given up either. What's your outlook for the luxury segment in the U.S.?
Well, look, it's a great party. We're all dancing, and I welcome all the dance partners. But look, this luxury segment is up. It's up around 13-14%. We anticipate it continuing to go up. I think as we start to enter segments like the A segment, the percent of total market that's luxury is going to continue to increase. I think this is a great opportunity for Audi. So I think what we have is, 1, the market is going up. 2, the Audi brand is winning the cross shops. We're winning the battle out there against Mercedes, against BMW, and against these other brands you named. So we see a lot of action. The final point I want to make is a lot of SUVs. The SUV business is really exploding. It's up more than passenger cars, and I think that bodes well for us as well with the Q5 and Q7.
Very good. Scott Keogh, thanks so much for your time at the Frankfurt Show. Really good.
Always a pleasure, John. Always a pleasure.
Julian Thomson is the head of advanced design at Jaguar, and boy, have you dropped a bombshell of an announcement at the Frankfurt Motor Show.
I hope so. We're very pleased with this, and it's just an indication of the sort of great stuff you can see from Jaguar coming up in the future.
What we're showing you right now is the CX7 concept car from Jaguar, and this has been highly controversial, at least amongst us in the media, because Jaguar is doing a crossover. Never been done in the history of the brand, and of course, some people think maybe it bumps up against Land Rover, your sister brand, but I'm sure you do not see it that way.
No, we've got a unique set of values with the Jaguar brand about cars which are beautiful to look at, fantastic to drive, very agile, very dynamic, and cars you fall in love with. And, crossovers are very, very important. Sports crossovers particularly are a huge sector of the market, and, that's what our customers want, growing all over the world. There's a great fan base for our fantastic brand, so this is a car we think our future customers are going to really love.
Julian, you must love the fact that being a designer, you're being given the task of doing something no one at Jaguar's ever done before. Walk us through a little bit of your thought process of how you approach doing a crossover for this brand.
It's been a big challenge for us as well. It's a totally different type of car, We do beautiful sports sedans, beautiful sports cars. Really, we take this segment and we really got to think about how we can turn those values of just beautiful proportions, purity of lines, elegance, the sense of sophistication and glamour, how we can bring that. We're not allowed to change the rules. We have to make sure we can make our Jaguar rules, our design language, fit in all types of cars. And so that's been our challenge, and we hope we've done a pretty good job with it.
I would say so, and you've given this a muscular look to it, and even though it's a crossover, not a pure SUV, you've given it more the look of an SUV, especially with those grayed out rocker panels that make the car look like it's standing up taller.
Yeah, I mean, a Jaguar should always look the sportiest car to own and to see on the street. Our cars are about driving, about dynamics, about performance, and about looking beautiful. So we pay a great deal of attention to the proportions of the vehicle, a very short front overhang, a long bonnet, the wheels pitched out, this shoulder, this muscularity, it really plants the car on the road. Very, very important. If it's to be a Jaguar, it's got to have that. All our other cars do. We've got to have this sense of poise, which is so important to us.
The interior as well. This doesn't look like any of the other Jaguars that are out there. What's your thinking in the new instrument panel and the interior of the vehicle?
Jaguars are always about beautiful craftsmanship, this sense of artistry, this love that goes into the design of them. So we use the finest natural materials, but also pay a great deal of attention to the actual lines and forms, as much as we do for the exterior of the car. And so we want this elegance, we want to really make out this car as being designed by proper designers drawing stuff. It's not done on a computer. So every line used to have a human touch about it.
And of course, Tata owns both Jaguar and Land Rover. Did you have to consult with the Land Rover people? Did they have any input of saying, oh, don't go too near the way our vehicles look?
No, we did two design teams. I mean, we're friends, but we try to keep them totally separate. We are different entities, different brand values. We have each has their own in-house job to do.
Of course, if one crossover is successful for Jaguar, can we expect that there might be others, maybe something smaller than this somewhere in the future?
I can't possibly comment on that, but we'll see what happens. I mean, with our new architecture, possibilities are endless, really, in terms of what we can do. We can deliver great proportions, great driving cars, beautiful cars. The sky's the limit.
But this is a platform, right? A new platform that could see other variants come off it.
It's a new architecture, and it really does give us a basis going forward in the future to, imagination's your only limit. So we can expect lots of fantastic vehicles from Jaguar in the future.
All right, but we can. And I got to believe that the public's reaction to this has been fantastic. I mean, your press conference ended some time ago, and we had to fight our way through the crowd to get up here.
Yeah, I think it's a great looking car, but it's also a car which people relate to as well. They want this thing on their drive, and that's a message we're getting loud and clear, and that's what we love to hear.
Very good. Julian Thomson, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you very much.
I know.
You're looking at the R18 race car, the Le Mans winning R18 E-Quattro. I wish we could give away one of these things to you, but we can't. A little too expensive, but we are doing the next best thing. We're going to give away a die-cast model of this car, a terrific die-cast model that Audi gave to us. To win it, all you have to do is sign up for our newsletter, go to Autoline.tv and sign up for it. If you're already signed up, good for you, because we're going to pick a random name from all our subscribers, and you are going to win this R18 model. Really something? Go to our website now and fill out the form.
From Shanghai to the Silicon Valley, the auto industry may make news around the globe, but there's only one spot to get your daily dose. Check out Autoline Daily at Autoline.tv, Monday through Friday at noon Eastern. Autoline Daily, for the concise word on everything cars.
Alfonso Albaisa is the design director for Infiniti, and a new one at that. When were you appointed to that position, Alfonso?
April.
In April?
Yeah.
And now you've got this fantastic car that you're showing off at the Frankfurt Motor Show. Tell us a little bit about this and what you hope to do with design at Infiniti.
Oh, great. About the Q30 concept first, we wanted, of course, to go into a new area. So we've always, had Q50s and this type of car. We've never really played in this slightly smaller entry segment. So the dilemma for us was, okay, how do we go in? So for us, we created this very sleek silhouette, but it's kind of shifted rearward, a kind of seductive pose, which we really thought was quite sexy. And then, on top of that, we wanted to keep this long hood that Infiniti has. So we elongated elements like this that come around. But on Q30, it flips up, and it creates a more spontaneous expression of sculpture. and we felt, well, this is more in line with maybe below Q50 type form language. So,
and a lot of action, a lot of curvature in this design that you've got. What's your thinking behind that?
Oh, I love turbulence, to be honest. And when I saw the first sketches for this car, it had this weird, like a horizontal tornado or tumbling feeling of the darks are wide and then they condense, they seem squeezed, but then they open up. This kind of fluidity, a sense of rarity, like the hand of the artist, honestly, this is what you're going to see on a lot of our cars because, honestly, I'm a shape guy, so I love sculpture.
And I love this little chrome piece back here on the car that I'm seeing. Whoops, I opened it accidentally. This is a piece that I'm starting to see in different shapes on different cars.
Yes, we have this is the crescent moon cut, and we call it crescent cut, but it's inspired by that last moment of the moon before it goes dark, which I find to be a very beautiful, poetic thing. But on Q30, we've gone more 3D on it. So the crescent cut actually creates this bending shape, which then creates this really quite cool rear area of the car, which is quite wide and dynamic present. So, for us we want sculpture to be a big statement. It's not just a pulling of shape, it's two shapes colliding or a graphic creating the sculpture. So it creates a bit more of a holistic impression.
How do you get into all these shapes and lines and yet make sure that you don't make the design too busy?
Yeah, that's the issue because for us, Infiniti has a harmony. It's a very natural expression. So for me personally, I never like to play with more than two major intersections, and to allow that line to read as the dominant, quite naturally executed, and we tend not to put a lot of detail. So we stay minimal, but with big passionate shape.
And tell me a bit about the interior too, because clearly it's as expressive as the exterior design.
Yeah, and this was one of actually the most new ground for us, because we have always played with this dissymmetry in our cars in essence, and Q50 has asymmetrical center console. But those cars, the package is so different. This instrument panel is more vertical. So we had a much more connected to the volume sense. So we moved graphically the colors so that the movement is asymmetrical, but you feel quite close to the volumes. It has been a very rewarding experience because it's not a package we play with normally. So it signals the new Infiniti.
Alfonso, I got to believe you're having a lot of fun. Infiniti's a brand that's been around for quite a while now, but it hasn't quite broken into the big ranks, as it were. You've got the chance to do that with design now.
Yeah, I'm quite honored, and it's, of course, a huge responsibility, but it's a great brand. It's a kind of a black sheep in a sense. We've made cars that, are head turners, and we're going to, pick and choose the cars that inspire us, and we take things further. And we're also going to be bringing a lot of very, very cool stuff. So please stay tuned to that.
And I'm sure there's a trick to making sure that this is clearly a Japanese luxury brand, but you've got it at the German show. The best sales for the brand are in the United States. Very interesting collection of different cultures that you've got to take into consideration.
This is, historically Infiniti, as you have said, it was a kind of U.S. brand. It was always Japanese, but most of our sales were in the United States. But we're going much more global. Cars like this, which are very European, that in package, we want to explore this because we're global. We're a global company. Our ideas of seduction are global. And so very much I'm excited to how do we create and expand and celebrate Infiniti DNA that it kind of has a global focus.
Real good. I can't wait to keep watch on what else you come out with. Alfonso, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks.
Michael Maurer is the head of design at Porsche, one of the most coveted jobs in the automotive industry, with this beautiful new prototype, actually not prototype, new car coming out, the 918 Spyder. Michael, tell us a little bit about this car.
Yeah, this 918 project is basically for a designer this once-in-a-lifetime project. 3 years ago, we just did a concept car. Doing a concept car for a designer, you have all the freedom, so that was a dream job. Seeing the car 3 years later as a production car, which basically has not changed from the concept, I mean, this is a dream for a designer that comes true.
That's got to be, because clearly when you do a concept car, you can do whatever you want. But to manufacture it, sometimes compromises have to be made. You must have been thinking about the manufacturing part as you did the concept car.
Yeah, I mean, when we did the concept car at Porsche, we always take into consideration that it could become a production car. So we had a lot of freedom, but not unlimited freedom. So we always thought about, if it becomes a concept car, we have to be very close to reality in order to have minimal changes for the production version.
Michael, tell us a little bit about this, because this car has brilliant performance. It's unbelievable, unlike anything Porsche's done before.
Yeah, I mean, for us it was at that time when the idea started, a lot of people questioned the future of sports cars and of the Porsche brand becoming part of the concern, Volkswagen concern. With this car we wanted to show there is no contradiction between environmental thinking and sports cars. So the task was very clear to come up with the concept, and for a designer we had the job to visualize this, let's say, combination of contradiction that everybody believed you can't bring together.
And explain to the audience a little bit about this if they don't know about it. It's a hybrid, but boy, what a hybrid.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is basically, you could say, the future of hybrid. So it's a hybrid. Before, hybrid cars were, let's say, considered as cars that are not so emotional, not so much fun to drive. For the Porsche brand, we just said we have to bring the hybrid thing really to another level. And combining the electrical performance and the performance of the combustion engine and the performance and then the driving experience was, for myself, maybe 2 years ago in the first prototype. I mean, I've never experienced anything else before.
Hey, you've got another car here, the 911 Turbo. Let's take a look at that. But of course, I want to mention that, as you well know, Ferdinand Porsche, the first cars he ever designed over 100 years ago were all hybrids.
Yeah, I mean, this is so nice that we at the Porsche brand really have this connection, that the founder of the company was already so deep into this technology, which now seems to rule the future. So this is so fantastic to work in a company with a brand that has this history.
Okay, now let's talk about this 911 Turbo that we see here. It's a very clean-looking design, even though it's the Turbo. It doesn't have all kinds of scoops and wings, and of course it does have a wing, but you've kept this a very clean-looking car.
Yeah, I mean, this is really, when we started the project again, I mean, there was a lot of discussion in this competitive environment where you have a lot of very expressive cars. We said, what should be the 911 Turbo, especially the S, which is a super sports car. I just drove with one from Stuttgart to Frankfurt. It has almost too much power. But we said we try to keep it silent, a little bit more humble. But as you said, I mean, you can't ignore the aerodynamics and stuff like this. So we need a small wing.
And I love the way you put it. It almost has too much power, because in our book, I'm sure there's no such thing as too much.
Yeah, but before, I always said on the 911 Turbos I drove before, I always thought sometimes German Autobahn, you know, no speed limit. I thought, oh, a little bit more would be nice. This time I thought, oh my gosh, this is definitely enough. So it is amazing. The acceleration, I mean, you're driving 300 kilometers per hour. Just like this. I mean, people used to ask me, oh, where can you drive this with the traffic you have in Germany? So every time, every day.
I wish we could do that back in the States. Well, I guess we can, but maybe not legally.
Yeah, you might be in trouble later.
That's right. Michael Maurer, thanks so much for taking the time to talk with us. Been very interesting seeing the 918 and the 911 Turbo.
Thank you very much for being here and sharing these beautiful cars with them. Thank you.
I know.
There's only one talk show that covers the issues and executives that drive the auto industry. Turn to Autoline This Week, every Friday at Autoline.tv or on your local PBS stations across America. Autoline This Week. You can't get more inside the industry.
Ken Saward is the head of design for Mazda North America, and they've got a very important car that they're introducing at the Frankfurt show, the new Mazda 3. Ken, why don't you tell us a little bit about this car, and especially since you're head of design, the design aspects of it.
Absolutely, I would love to. Well, first off, the new Mazda 3 represents the latest in Kodo design for us. It's our newest product, and we have overall Kodo design language that you saw previously in the CX-5 and in the Mazda 6, and now you're seeing it now in the new Mazda 3. I think your first impression when you walk up upon the car is it feels like it's moving while it's standing still. It really has an aggressive stance to it. That's part of what Kodo design is. Kodo design is really three elements. It's speed, tension, and allure. And when you walk up to the car, the first thing you notice is the proportion of the car. It sits really well. It's got a very nice balance to it. It feels very planted on its wheels. It also feels like the car is moving while it's standing still. The second element of Kodo design is what we call tension, and that's really the key lines of the car. The fender lines, the hood line, the main line coming off the grille as it rolls to the back of the car, the strong rear shoulder line as well, and that's the key elements we call tension. And the third key element of all of our Kodo designs, what we call allure. And allure is really the details. When we talk about details, we're talking about the front face of the vehicle or the grille of the vehicle. You can see in the headlights the dynamics of the headlights and the detailing in the headlights. Also, when you look at the grille, you can see the grille isn't just a graphic on the car, but it's part of the overall form of the front end of the car. And so these are the little details that bring, when you stand far away from the car, you see the basic forms. As you get closer to the car, you see the line and the tension and the movement. And as you get up close to the car, you see the allure or the detail elements of the car that really give the car that premium feel, that class above feel.
Let's take a look at the interior as well, because I'm sure you've got a story to tell on that as well.
Absolutely. I mean, as much as effort and energy as we put into the exterior design, same amount of time goes into the interior design. I think the first thing you'll notice when you look at the interior of the car is the decoupled information infotainment display, and that's unique. This is unique in the segment for Mazda as well. The car features a heads-up display. We've got carbon-like interior trim panels. You can see as you move through the interior, we've got very high-quality piano black center trim. We've got a jewel-like instrument cluster in the center. The overall idea of the interior is obviously to make it feel bigger than it is, a little bit more airy for the basic shape that you've got of the car, but also really a premium feel to it. And everything in the interior is like class above feel from a material standpoint.
Ken, this is a 5-door hatchback. Hatches, of course, are very popular in Europe and elsewhere in the world. Yet you've got a sedan version over here that looks pretty terrific, too, and usually that doesn't come off as well.
We agree. We think the sedan looks as good in a lot of ways, from different angles, as good or better than the 5-door. Both cars are gorgeous. I think, to your point, in the United States and North America, sedans sell better than 5-doors. So I think we've got a great vehicle for that buyer in North America, and the 5-door is a great-looking vehicle for people in the rest of the world, as well as we've got a good market in North America for that as well.
And that's not easy to do, because the hatch, of course, dictates different structure inside the car. Usually that leaves the hood different than what you see on the sedan, or even the door shapes. And this, boy, you guys must have really planned this out to pull this off.
Well, obviously a lot of planning goes into it, but what we've done is we've carried over a lot of the front of the car all the way to the rear door. The only thing unique is the roof and the rear structure for the trunk area. And so what we've managed to do, when you walk around the car from a front 3/4 angle, you really can't tell that it's a 5-door when you're standing at it from the front 3/4. And that's what gives the car, I think, the really strong dynamics, is when you look at the car from the front 3/4 and you can't really tell that it's actually a 5-door. But if you walk around the car's got a great proportion to it. It's got a high deck, obviously good for aero, but it's also got a really clean shape. We talked about the allure on the 5-door, the detailing and the lights. You see that in the taillights on this car as well.
You talked about Kodo design. Explain a little bit. What's the spelling on that, and why the name? Mazda always names its styling theme.
We always have a design philosophy. It's kind of the foundation of all of our designs. Kodo basically means soul of motion, and what that is, again, when you look at the design, the car feels like it's moving. It's got energy from the inside coming out, and basically Kodo, as I mentioned earlier, consists of 3 key elements: speed, tension, and allure. And we capture that in basically all the shapes of the car, basically the way the car sits on its wheels, the overall proportions, and the key lines and details of the car.
Real good. Ken Saward, thanks so much for walking us through Mazda design. You covered everything there in a short amount of time.
You're quite welcome. My pleasure. Thank you.
Jonathan Browning is the Chief Executive Officer of Volkswagen of America, and Volkswagen has made quite a statement at this show with electric cars, including this electric Golf right next to us. Jonathan, explain what the company hopes to achieve with this move into electric cars in a big way.
You know, I think a lot of people associate, in terms of alternative propulsion, Volkswagen brand with diesels, and certainly diesels are a very big part of our presence globally and in the US market as well. But we also have a full array of alternative propulsion. So we also have hybrid, gasoline hybrid. Now we have electric vehicles as well, and I think that's part of the challenge for the global auto industry, is to have this full portfolio of powertrains, and this is really what you see emerging here very strongly at the Frankfurt show.
Volkswagen also said it expects to be the leader in electric vehicles by 2018. That's quite a statement for a company that hasn't had one in the market yet.
Yeah, we've got an overall corporate objective to take leadership in the global industry by 2018, and there are a number of elements within that. We've actually identified a 3% volume goal in terms of electric vehicles on a global basis, and we believe that will actually give a leadership position in terms of electric vehicles on a global basis.
In addition to the electric Golf that you have here, what are some of the other models that will be in that EV lineup?
Well, one of the others that we're actually showing here is the European-based E-Up. Up is a very compact city car that we offer in Europe, don't offer in the US, but the E-Up is also part of the lineup, and actually is the first of the pure electric vehicles into the market for the Volkswagen brand.
Why do you think that you might be able to achieve electric vehicle leadership? Is Volkswagen bringing some new technology or something different than the others have?
Well, the way we look at our vehicles is in terms of the powertrain propulsion. That really should be a choice that the customer can make for a vehicle like Golf. They shouldn't have to go to a very specific body style, very specific vehicle, and so we have this global architecture for vehicles like Golf, which we call MQB, and it gives us the ability to bring in different propulsion systems into the same vehicle, and that's a concept, a format that we're rolling out across our vehicle line. So we have the ability to really adjust the powertrain to different local market requirements in a very flexible way as part of this overall MQB architecture.
MQB, of course, is something that's caught the entire global industry interest, because it really allows Volkswagen to commonize a lot of the cost of the car without having to make everything else be so common from different model lines.
Exactly. I mean, part of the challenge for the global industry is to both tailor specific products to local needs, but also to get the, as you say, the advantages of scale, the investment efficiency, and really that's what MQB is a big enabler of, tailoring the offer to a specific market, but also getting the scale efficiencies.
Let's talk about the American market a little bit, since you're running Volkswagen in that part of the world. As you mentioned earlier, Volkswagen wants to have global leadership by 2018. It needs to increase its market share in the United States, but that's not happening this year. Even though the market overall is growing, VW of America is not. What are you going to do to turn that around?
Well, you know, when we laid out this 10-year plan back in 2008, we set some goals for 2018, and we're essentially on track towards those goals. Important to look at short-term performance in the context of where we are in that 10-year plan. And so when you look at the Volkswagen business in the US over the last 3 years, we actually doubled the size of the business since 2009. So we had 20% growth, we had 26% growth, and then we had 35% growth. You can't keep growing at that pace. You have to pause for breath, consolidate, and then prepare for the next phase of growth. And that's essentially where we're at the moment. Our volume is stabilized at a new, much higher base than it was. That's a stepping stone then on to further future growth, and part of the long-term plan, as I was saying.
Of course, future growth would entail more new models. I've got to believe Volkswagen's looking at that, especially SUVs in the U.S. market.
Yeah, certainly new models, as well as really richening and deepening the presence of existing models in the marketplace. And so we're doing great with Jetta, with Passat, Tiguan. There's opportunity to grow further, and then a mid-size SUV with a 7-seat passenger configuration would be a great add to our lineup as well.
Well, we'll be keeping an eye on that for sure. Jonathan, thanks so much for your time today.
Great to see you again, John. Thank you.
Hey, lady! That's Diesel!
I know.
Whether it's on television, online, or through social media, Autoline knows how to effectively get your marketing message to the people you want to reach. Contact Stacy Eman today.
Well, this wraps up our coverage of the 2013 Frankfurt Motor Show. I hope you enjoyed looking at all the new models and hearing from the executives who introduced them for us today. Oh, and before we go, don't forget, you can win that R18 Le Mans winning Audi model. If you sign up for our newsletter, just go to Autoline.tv, sign up for it, and we'll be choosing a name at random in the next 2 weeks. But, as I said before, that wraps up our coverage. This is McElroy signing off from the 2013 Frankfurt Motor Show.
Autoline Live from the Frankfurt Motor Show is brought to you by Audi, Truth in Engineering.